I've said a lot about individuals being in a relationship with a narcissist, and because this is definitely an emotional abusive relationship, it can be very, very difficult for somebody to live, to be that wife, to be that husband, to be that brother, sister, or to be that child or mother or father of somebody who has this particular personality. They'll do a lot to harm you. They will say things about you directly or indirectly. They will tell people things about you. They lie, they manipulate, they also gaslight a lot, and then they will say things like, I never did anything, it's you. So just typically gaslighting. So it's quite difficult, and because of the difficulty of it, persons who are actually involved in that relationship, sometimes they don't even realize what's going on. It could take many years. There are persons who are married to narcissists for years upon years, and they'll see these things happening, and then because the narcissist will gaslight, they will make you feel as if it's you. You're doing something wrong. You're the one who made me do this. You're the one who caused me to yell and get mad because you're doing these things all the time. They will always throw the blame on you. And another thing is that it just becomes the norm after a while if you're not aware of some of the signs, some of the red flags. And so it's exhausting. Of course, deep down in your heart, you know that this is off, and this is tiring, and this is something that I didn't really sign up for. If you're a healthy person and you're looking for you were actually looking for a healthy relationship, you would have been aware of some things that are going on that does not seem normal or healthy. So it's really important to examine your relationship, always feel as if there's a way out. Sometimes it's difficult if the narcissist is controlling, if they're the ones who are taking care of things. Sometimes people feel led to stay in these relationships. However, your life is more important. Your health, your well-being, your emotional well-being is more critical, and this should be priority rather than staying in a relationship with a narcissist where you may not survive. You might wind up getting very sick. You might wind up actually developing some physical illness and not being able to last, especially if you have other things that you're living for. It's not the narcissist. The narcissist is definitely completely controlling, and they'll make you feel that they're the ones that you're living for. That's what eventually happens. And for people who are surviving narcissistic relationships, or who have survived, I really empathize with you. I know it's a lot of things that you have to do just to kind of get over all of that pain, all of that hurt, all of the stress that you have been through. You might need so much support. It's not necessarily something that you could actually heal from by yourself. You might need therapy. You might need family, close family and friends around you a lot. Just remind you of who you are, your worth, and just to try to be a better version of yourself. Because after many years of being in a relationship with a narcissist, it does a lot to you emotionally. They say things and do things to make you feel less than yourself, and not important. And this can cause a lot of post-traumatic stress when you've exited that relationship. So these are just my few words and encouragement for persons who are actually in or survivors of relationships with narcissists.